In this video, I'll be going over the threat for some severe weather for portions of the South Central and South here as we go within Friday and Saturday. Pretty good conditions here. The SPC has already issued a large light risk for day 3 here across both of the South Central and Southwestern Dixie Valley, and a large 15% chance for day 4, which is Saturday, across portions of the Gulf Coast and Southeast, and a very concerning 50% chance already on day 7, a whole week out here for portions of Tornado Alley. So keep a very close eye on the anniversary here on the 27th, 28th of April outbreak here. But without further ado, let's get in the video. So here's a look now at the day 3 outlook here on the SPC. We do have a very large slight risk across portions of the South Central and as well portions of the Western Dixie Valley, including Louisiana and Mississippi. This slight risk here, which is in the yellow color, that is 2 out of 5 on the categorical outlook legend, and this includes around 25.7 million people again across portions of the southern United States, including big cities like Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, as well includes areas in Jackson, Mississippi, Oklahoma City, Norman, Shreveport, and Monroe, and there's general regions there in that yellow color. But there is a very good chance for an enhanced risk to be issued with them. This slight risk, in my opinion, I do think the enhanced risk will most likely be issued across portions of southern Oklahoma, portions of central and eastern Texas, and as well portions of far western Louisiana. This is kind of where I think possibly if there were to be an enhanced risk, which I do think there's a very great probability for an enhanced risk to be issued. I think it'll be within this circle here, maybe just a little bit closer, a little bit further within that region there, or vicinities where I think the best probability for a slight risk, or sorry, not a slight risk, for an enhanced risk. But we also have a very large marginal risk in the very same similar structure, but kind of on the outer layer. That's going to be extending all the way up to Louisiana, again, Mississippi, Alabama, and as well going as far as north as the Kansas border. So this as well includes around 4.5 million people, including Tulsa, Baton Rouge, Montgomery, Abilene, and Broken Arrow. A few areas like Tulsa and even like Baton Rouge, you guys may possibly get extended very close to that slight risk, depending on whether the enhanced risk does get issued. But overall, pretty big threat for severe weather on day 3, stretching from the Oklahoma region down to portions of western Dixie Valley. So the severe weather will kind of be over here, kind of the I guess the late afternoon, evening hours, and then kind of move overnight towards the east here. And that's why on Saturday we'll be seeing that threat for severe weather for the southeast, because it will be kind of be a multi-threat of severe weather kind of making its way eastward here, and that's as well going to be a similar threat once we get to next week here on Tuesday through Wednesday, as well watching possibly for a very big severe weather event here. We already have a 15% chance on day 7, which we'll look at later on the video, but of course a very large 15%, but we also have a 15% chance, significant risk for severe weather in general, and that's including around 13 million people, and that's for mainly central and northern Texas, and as well portions of southern and central Oklahoma, including areas like Oklahoma City, Arlington, Texas, Fort Worth, and Dallas. So there's actually probably a pretty decent chance that maybe even Oklahoma City, Norman could get extended into this enhanced risk when it's issued here. But let's go ahead and now look at the slight risk here already for day 5. Sorry, day 4. We have a very large 15% chance here, and it actually has extended a lot compared to what it was yesterday when it was day 5. This 15% chance does include quite a lot of people you can kind of see, including southern Georgia, northern Florida, much of Alabama, portions of Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, as far east as Myrtle Beach and or not Myrtle Beach, but areas like Charleston there and Savannah, Georgia. So if you're in this yellow color here, you're already at a slight risk, which is 2 out of 5 already. This is 4 days out, so there is most likely going to be an enhanced risk within this 15% chance once to get closer, maybe day 2, day 3. It could be a very similar scenario that this goes day 3, so at a slight risk, and then maybe go enhance at a day 2 or maybe day 1. But there is definitely a pretty good chance it's such a large slight risk already this far out, 4 days out already, that there is most likely going to be an enhanced risk issue. And of course, as well, we do have that threat on day 7. I mean, you typically don't see a 15% chance or risk at all on the SPCA website, I think, after day 5. So you normally don't see a 15% chance or 30% chance, any risk whatsoever, once it's past day 5. So day 6, day 7, day 8, it is extremely rare to have a risk like we have right now. I think it's only happened once or twice where there has been a 15% chance on day 7 on the SPC, and this is very concerning here because this is going to be happening on the 27th and the 28th of April, which obviously will make the 10-year anniversary of the April 27th outbreak and Dixie Alley, and as well, it was actually an outbreak in the South Central, these similar areas on the 25th and 26th. So it's basically almost a 10-year anniversary of that massive severe weather outbreak in 2011, and it's very concerning that we have such a large spread, uh, a widespread 50% chance already on day 7, going from southern Kansas all up to central Texas. I mean, it's a very large area to have a slight risk already a whole week out, So imagine what this will be once it gets to day 1 here. You're going to be very interesting here. This is definitely the most interesting severe weather events that I'm going to be talking about throughout this video. But the main video, obviously the one you're watching right now, will be most likely for this week, Friday, Saturday. But once this event passes, this week's, I'll be definitely looking at this one here and definitely live streaming it. So here's a look here at the European model. So we're looking at mainly on Friday afternoon. Here's when that severe weather is going to start ramping off here or popping off here across portions of central Texas and as well as far north as portions of Oklahoma and Kansas. We start seeing some severe weather popping off. So it is going to be pretty widespread, the severe weather, like I did say, on the late afternoon and evening hours for specifically Texas and Oklahoma. But there you see the main event will be kind of the southeastern portion of Texas, outside of Houston, there near State College. So not State College, near College Station, outside of Austin, in those little kind of, I guess, rural areas between Houston and Austin, and between Houston and the DFW area. Not too similar with the regions, but generally that's including southeastern Texas, and as well some scattered severe weather in a linear mode here across portions of Kansas, central Oklahoma, north central Texas, and as well even portions of southwestern Missouri. As then I get later on down to the overnight hours around 11 o'clock, that severe weather is going to intensify as this low pressure does actually strengthen a lot. We're going to be seeing these storms kind of, taking away and sucking away this cape and increasing this strength of these storms here. So we're going to be seeing some pretty intense storms around 11 o'clock here across portions of Louisiana and Texas, specifically the eastern portion of Texas there near Tyler, Texarkana, that region, and as well some pretty intense storms in central Louisiana, let's see, Alexandria, as well you got Shreveport in the northwestern portion, and of course still can't about the possibility for some pretty strong storms across Oklahoma, Kansas, and as well portions of even Missouri. Can't rule out the possibility for some severe weather there, but they really won't be the main event. The main event will definitely be overnight around 5 a.m. across portions of the Dixie Alley. That's exactly why that slight risk is extended in a weird way, like a sword, to the east here, because we're going to be seeing some pretty intense storms here, looking at possibly some mainly intense winds, and as well maybe a little bit on the lower side for the tornado threat across portions of west and southern Mississippi there, northern and central Louisiana, as well. So watching out for some severe weather just outside the little Ozark regions in Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then that severe weather will make its way towards the southeast once we get into the Saturday time frame, Saturday morning. And really watching out for some severe weather across Georgia, Alabama, portions of South Carolina. So basically the deep southeast there, and portions of eastern Dixie Alley, and that's going to make its way towards portions of the Panhandle there, the Panhandle of Florida, make its way towards east central Georgia, southern and central South Carolina. So we're going to be really watching out on Saturday morning for some severe weather across these main regions. But obviously, it looks like the main event will kind of stick a little bit to the west here on that day 3 for portions of the south central and western Dixie Alley. But let's go ahead and now look at the conditions here. First, we're looking at the temperatures, and I like looking at the temperatures because obviously some people say, oh, it's not cold enough, or it's not warm enough, or that it's too cold, etc. So I just like to mention the temperatures so people can get a better idea why the Cape values are that high, why they're that low, and basically why severe weather is most likely, in general, likely. So that's kind of why I like bringing up the temperatures. And specifically, I'm bringing it up for this event because we're seeing some pretty darn cold air across much of the United States here. So people are probably wondering how this is going to be a severe weather event since it's so cold right now. And we have actually freeze warnings across portions of the Ozark and Central Plains earlier this week here. So how's this going to happen? Well, there's going to be a big warm up here. We're going to be seeing a ton of warm air coming in from the Gulf, as well a lot of moisture coming in from the Gulf. So that's going to be one factor, as well as seeing that pretty cold air coming from the Rockies. So there's perfect conditions for severe weather across the Dixie Alley and portions of Tornado Alley. So we're going to be seeing some pretty warm temperatures on Friday afternoon, hitting portions of the upper 70s and as well upper 80s. So pretty good temperatures, upper 60s and as well as high at 76, 77 there across portions of the northeastern Texas. So really good temperatures, and even in the overnight hours, some pretty good temperatures across western Dixie Alley, because as we go overnight, that severe weather will make its way towards Mississippi there, Louisiana, and Alabama. We're gonna be seeing some decent temperatures, some mid 60s, and we may get as low as 61 or 62. So it really won't be a big tornado threat, but we're gonna be seeing some pretty significant winds, and maybe on the early side of the event, like Texas and Oklahoma, we will be seeing some pretty good lapse rates that will support some pretty good hail, as well as going to continue now to go towards the southeast here on Saturday at 10 in the morning. That's when we will start to get our first actual severe weather across portions of Dixie Alley in the southeast. They're going to be seeing some widespread 70s. And once we get in the afternoon hours, some really good temperatures, specifically into the northern Florida area, southern Georgia, getting as high as the lower 80s. And we're going to be seeing kind of stick around in the 60s and 70s across portions of the Carolinas. So really watching out mainly for wind and hail with this one. But the really concerning one, like I did say, is the day 7. Not because it's so far out. I mean, that's one reason, but because the conditions just look super duper perfect. I mean, the shear's crazy. I'll be looking at all that kind of later on here. But I want to go first. I want to go talk about this event here, like these Friday and Saturday, and then I'll take a look here in the end of the video on next week here. So hopefully I don't forget to look at that. But let's go ahead and look at the Cape values here for Friday. So Friday at 5 o'clock is like I did say is kind of when the severe weather will start to ramp up, specifically across Central Texas, because that's where we'll be seeing those favorable Cape values anywhere from 1,200 to as high as 2,600. That's gonna be widespread, 1,000 plus across Texas and Oklahoma, and that's why I said that's where things will start to blow up here in the evening hours. But once they get a little bit overnight, that's when Cape values will get a lot higher, getting to the mid thousands there across East Central Texas, and as well as some pretty good values across the Oklahoma and Texas border. But again, at that point, the severe weather will be far to the east, and these Cape values will continue to be very high. 4 or 5 a.m. I'm going to be seeing widespread those higher 2,000, the lower 3,000. That'll carry on here once we get into the southeast here for Saturday. I'm going to be seeing some pretty good values of over 3,500 joules per kilogram at 5 or on 3 o'clock here on Saturday. Get as high as possibly even nearly 4, or actually over 4,000 there across Mississippi there in Alabama. And these Cape values really won't be too extremely high across the southeast, and widespread thousands there across Georgia, and as high as 2,000 in Alabama. But that's when I look at the shear here, and the shear's gonna be pretty decent here for this event specifically across Texas and Oklahoma. Gonna get as high on this is 920 millibars or 925 millibars. So basically, nearly in the surface there, the lowest we can go there, and you kind of see anywhere from 30 knots, possibly 36 knots. So this year is not going to be too crazy, but it's going to be decent for some type of severe weather. But that's just going to really rapidly increase once we get towards the evening hours. That's when it's going to really increase up to probably 50 knots on the eastern portion there, Texas, and some widespread high 30s and lower 40s across Texarkana, northeastern Texas, as well as some pretty good values there in eastern Oklahoma. And that's going to really increase once we get now overnight into the severe weather across western Dixie. Going to get as high as possibly 49.6 knots. And that's going to really continue to increase there across portions of Mississippi there in Louisiana. Going to get over 60 knots there on the surface. That's going to be a really big concern once we get towards Friday or Saturday there. That's actually going to be pretty favorable across much of the southeast. You're going to get a lot higher shear on day 4 than day 3. Going to get some widespread areas that can get over 50 knots of shear, specifically across Alabama, Georgia, as well portions of the Carolinas. So we're going to be seeing some really good shear to sustain some severe weather for both day 3 and day 4, but specifically day 4 is going to be seeing a lot more shear. Let's go ahead and look at the K index here, which can be, I guess, measuring the probability in general. Let's see some pretty good severe weather. And it's going to be a little bit on the higher side here for Friday, and be seeing some widespread upper 30s and as well as high as 41. It's going to continue to increase though as we go throughout the overnight hours on Friday going to Saturday morning, and get as high as 42 there across East Central Texas, and that's going to continue to stay pretty high as we go across the southeast. There's some widespread mid 30s in the middle of the night. Once we get in the afternoon hours, we can get some widespread 30s, as high as 40.4. And again, it's going to be some pretty good conditions there for severe weather across the southeast. All right, let's now get into next week's event here. So we're going to be going all the way here into Tuesday. So let's actually go, let's find we can actually get this to get loading here. So we're going to be seeing some severe weather kind of popping off once we get into Tuesday afternoon is kind of when that severe weather will start to blow up here across portions of Oklahoma, Texas, as well even Kansas there. So we're really watching at Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas there for the main event on Tuesday, uh, Tuesday night through Wednesday mornings. Kind of, I guess, be the main event there, the 27th through the 28th. And it's going to kind of begin in a linear mode there, possibly a linear line of supercells across Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. That's going to continue to really increase in strength here once we get through Oklahoma, Missouri, southeastern Kansas, and as well portions of central Texas overnight into Wednesday morning. And it's going to be a multi-day threat here, even getting into portions of the Mississippi River Valley and portions of the Ohio Valley into Thursday, Wednesday night to Thursday morning as well. Going to see some pretty intense storms next week here across portions of Arkansas, Mississippi there, northern Louisiana, even Illinois and Missouri may get some pretty intense storms. That's going to be a multi-day threat there as we go towards even the southeast there on Thursday night. Going to see possibly some severe weather down to the southeast. So we're looking at possibly a pretty widespread severe weather risk next week here. A multi-day threat leading from, I guess, Tuesday night to portions of Thursday night. Thursday night. So it's going to definitely be a pretty big week, possibly a busy week for a portion of the southern United States here, whether it's the south central or southeast. Temperatures as well going to be pretty favorable. Let's go all the way up to next week here. So we're going to go up to possibly, let's see, Tuesday night. So let's scroll all the way up to Tuesday night when that severe weather kind of start off. So you kind of see, look at the highs on Tuesday afternoon. So widespread 80s, high 80s across portions of southern Tornado Alley with even some 80s as far north as portions of Illinois. So we're seeing a pretty big warm up here, significant warm up, some widespread high 70s and lower 80s across this whole circle. So we're seeing some really warm temperatures, possibly leading up to pretty good K values, which can definitely sustain some severe weather. 8 o'clock here, 2 in the morning. Look at 2 in the morning. Some widespread high 60s and widespread 70s. I mean that's literally like summer temperatures, basically. June-like temperatures for overnight temperatures to be into the mid 70s and lower 70s across portions of the Tornado Alley, and that's gonna be a similar scenario. 72, 2 in the morning in Iowa. So really, really big warm up, which is gonna really help bring that severe weather. 8 a.m. Wednesday. And we get into the highs now on Wednesday as well. Some widespread, really warm temperatures. We're going to be watching Wednesday, specifically across portions of the Mississippi Valley, portions of the Dixie Valley. And we're seeing some really, really good temperatures here. Let's see how that affects the K values, though. So let's go all the way up back here into portions of Tuesday. Tuesday kind of night to Wednesday morning. Kind of see here. Let's go towards the Tuesday night here, 8 o'clock, and we're seeing some really good K values here, over 3,300 joules per kilogram. People think, that's not too crazy for an outbreak, but thinking about we're a whole week out, and they already showed 3,000 plus joules per kilogram. So imagine when we get closer. But some really widespread high K values from central Texas there across Oklahoma, eastern and southern Kansas. That's going to continue to be around 2-3 a.m. We're going to be seeing some really good K values here. And that's going to be a similar scenario there, watching out on Wednesday, or we have Wednesday night across portions of the, I guess, southwestern Dixie Valley. And we see some pretty good K values across central and northern Louisiana, some portions there of western Mississippi. As well, let's go ahead and look at the shear here. Shear is really impressive, at least for this far out, for next week here, for portions of the eastern plains and portion as well of Tornado Alley. So let's go ahead and now get into Tuesday. You can kind of see some really high amounts of shear there on, let's actually go back here. On Tuesday, some really widespread amounts of shear there, getting up to Tuesday evening here, some widespread high 30s into mid 40s across portions of Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. And then it continue to be really high once we get into the overnight hours on Wednesday, some widespread 40s and even getting very close to the 50s. And that's going to continue to be really high on shear wise on the surface there. On Thursday, Wednesday, the following day, Wednesday evening, specifically into Thursday morning, you'll be seeing some shear values of nearly 62 knots there, and even some pretty widespread mid 50s and high 40s across a portion of Dixie Valley. So looking at some pretty sustainable conditions there for some severe weather. Pretty interesting there for sure. Let's now go look at the K index here, see how high these are this far out. And once again, to Tuesday around 8 o'clock, I'm really watching out for some pretty intense storms there across northern Texas, western and central Oklahoma, and as well portions of south central and southeastern Kansas. And you get some widespread 30s and already getting as high as a 41 on the scale. It's going to continue to be a big threat overnight there across Missouri, there, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and already getting as high as a 40 a whole week out. So it's going to be a very interesting scenario to play out. And of course, it's going to carry on now into Wednesday to Thursday morning across portions of the Western Dixie Valley and Tennessee, and as well even portions of the Mississippi River Valley. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.